This PSA was brought to you by the Peter G Show.
You may have second thoughts after the show.
Don't drink the faucet. We're really talented. We should get Oscars.
Just pick out a car, for Christ's sake.
No, my name is Peter.
Yeah, I want.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Madam Perry.
I need to get back in the genie bottle.
Louis from Pennsylvania, you're on.
He likes it.
It's showtime.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad, Peter G Show.
Dun 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 dun. That's right. Divorced dad, single dad, and no better night than tonight to talk about that kind of stuff. How the hell is everybody? Wednesday coming at you. Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show. Every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. Definitely God willing. Hope everybody's doing well today. Beautiful spring day. Turning into evening now. Some parts of the country, again, California, people are driving home from work. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:02. Hurrying home to see if they can catch the remainder of the Peter G Show. I know how that feeling is. I've lived it myself. But we're doing good, and I hope you're all doing good, too. 2/3 of April is just about over already. We are rapidly getting ready to get into summer, and it's crazy. Although some parts, like Colorado, I think it snowed in Colorado a few days ago. Again, it's like, you could have that crap. Not me. Traded in that snow shovel many moons ago. It's great to look at, great to go visit, but I'm good. We're good right here. But for those of you enjoying the spring weather, enjoy it. It's going to get hotter, and then we'll be all complaining about the heat, but I digress. I'll take it any day. And that's it. Tonight, we have a great show tonight, as always. But tonight, going back to my roots somewhat, I told you I'm going to be doing a lot of this within these next few months. But tonight, I have Mr. Deantong that's going to be on the show. He's a certified forensic consultant and child abuse expert. I do mean expert. A lot of years under his belt. He deals with sexual allegations in divorce, which sucks, and parental alienation, and that's a big subject nowadays. I can't believe like that crap is going on still, and more than ever, especially in teens. But more than anything, false child accusations of abuse, and that could railroad people. And I know there's many people who've lived that kind of stuff, and a lot of people that can relate to this stuff. On top of that, he's got a book. Elusive Innocence. Survival Guide for the Falsely Accused, right here. And we're going to talk about that too. But again, he's got a lot of experience, has talked about taking many cases, some high-profile cases too. And he's got a lot to talk about. And this, again, this strikes home. I didn't have to experience a portion of some of the things he talks about, but any kind of divorce and things like that gets nasty most of the time. And when you have to get lawyers involved to talk about this stuff, you know, when you have to go to courts because the adults can't work their own problems out, you kind of get what you get. And they run you in and they see you for a few minutes and make decisions on your life. And that sucks. Again, I know, but you have to hire professionals to stick up for you. And Mr. Deantong is definitely one of them. And we're going to talk to him tonight. So stick around. That's good stuff. Because I know that if you didn't go through it yourself, everybody knows somebody who did, whether it's family members, friends, or foe. And it'll change you as a person when it gets that kind of nasty. So we're going to talk about that stuff because and the kids are trapped in the middle of it. That's the worst part of it all. So you know how I am about the children. And again, This month is National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. So that's another reason why he is on this specific date right here, because on the 25th is going to be International Child Abuse and Awareness Prevention. And there's big celebration all over the world and talks that go on. We're going to talk to him about that too. But this is a big deal to him. He's made it his life. So, I mean, you could pick any kind of direction you want to go as an attorney or a profession and things like that. And he chose to defend the accused or the innocent, hopefully. We'll talk to him about that too. I'm sure he's had a few run-ins that could have gone the wrong way. But stick around. That's where that's going. While we're getting warmed up, yeah, I almost forgot that too. Again, get your stuff together, Peter. While we're getting warmed up, I think it's a good time to get warmed up and see where we stand astrologically for the week, because I'm kind of into that stuff. I figure it doesn't hurt, but no better way to hear about how our week is going astrologically in the cosmic universe than from Moon Mistress herself. So what do you say we just hear a quick, she'll give you a quick rundown on what to expect this week in your life. So pay attention, all right? I'll be right back.
Hello, my loves. And this week we're going into Taurus energy. And Taurus is all about abundance, my darlings. And that energy is wild. We're going to start off with Aquarius energy, Gemini energy, and Libra. That, babies, is all about the air signs. And that is some twin flame energy. It's also just this energy coming through. Something that your soul is desiring is coming through for you, baby. Woo! Earth signs, my babies, my Capricorns, my Taurus, and my Virgos, you'll be celebrating 4 of Wands. Could be an engagement. If you want the love, baby, claim it. But it could just be something successful coming through. Absolutely love the energy. Cut the deck. And again, messages coming through. Twin flame energy for all my signs. For my water signs, whoa, babies. My Pisces, my Scorpios, and my Cancers. How about some money, honey? Abundance is coming through, babies. All you need to do is ring it out. And fire, you are having some fire. I love this energy with Knight of Wands, baby. It's all about wanderlust. It's getting out there and going for what you want, what you desire, my babies. To find out how all of this will affect your zodiac sign, moonmistresstarot.com. Enjoy your week, my darlings, and back to you, Peter.
Back to me, Peter. Thank you, Moon Mistress. I always feel better when she lets me know on what I'm looking forward to this week. But to find out more about your astrological journey and cosmic connection, just go to moonmistresstarot.com and she'll give you the personal rundown on your life. Again, where the one is all and the all is one. So go for it. I do. It's sometimes I wonder how how the hell how did I get here? Who are we? So she'll let you know, but that's all good. I also forgot to tell you, normally I tell you that right before we talk to the Moon Mistress, but as long as I tell you, don't forget next week. I always like to give people a heads up on what you're looking forward to. Next week, April 29th, Wednesday, April 29th, right here on Life of Peter G. It's Current Events, Just Us. This is where I'm looking forward to enlightening you on all the happenings that have been going on this month, things that I know you need to hear about. And some people love to hear about it, some people need to hear about it, and some people don't want to know about it. And then they get angry with me. But either way, that's what we're doing, because sometimes you just got to, you got to plow through it, take the good with the bad. And I'm here to enlighten you on that aspect, because I know that life is busy and there's a lot of things that just blow over your head. And if you're watching mainstream media, sorry, you're not going to get all you're just going to get what they want you to know. What do we got here? I forgot all about comments. Here we go. Pensacola in the house. Thank you, Pensacola in the house. Glad you made yourself available. There you go. Don't forget, you can comment. For those of you who are on the official Peter G Show page of Facebook, the official YouTube page of Facebook, the official YouTube Peter G YouTube page, and the official LinkedIn Peter G Show page, you can comment if you're watching. And if, especially even Mr. Dean Tong's page, he is simulcasting. So if you're on Facebook watching his page, you can comment, ask a question. I'll try to get it in. So that's the good thing about being live. Sometimes we get people who just want to watch, and sometimes we get a plethora of comments of people who are inquisitive and want to know stuff and make a statement. Like, Peter, I love you, or Peter, you suck, but either way, you're invited. So we're good. All right. But don't forget, just one more time, join me next Wednesday. Join me Wednesday, April 29th, right here for Current Events, just you and me talking about all the things that we need to hear about that's going on around us right here, right now. Please. I look forward to it because all month long I'm chomping at the bit because there's so much life going on. I'm going, God, I wish I could talk about this, but I got guests. So next week's the time that we will be letting it all hang out. All right? That's that. Yep. Let's also, don't forget. Gosh, I keep forgetting to do these things, but hey, it's all right. Please share, subscribe. Audio podcasts. I know it's hard to watch the show sometimes. Like in California, people are hurrying to get home from work, but you could put an earbud in your ear, Google Peter G Show podcast. You could hear the audio version of over 400 shows and topics right here. It's easy. Put an earbud in your ear. You can listen while you're at work on demand. Anytime you want, all these shows. There's plenty of shows about everything, and they're all available on audio podcast as well. So just Google Peter G Show podcast. Again, you'll find it. It's on all the majors, 26 different formats, as well as Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, you name it. So it's the next best thing to watching. I'm glad when you watch, but if you need to take the show on the road with you or while you're exercising or walking, do it. Do it. I don't care how you pay attention, as long as you're paying attention. I appreciate that, all right? And that's where that's at. So we're good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to be bringing on Mr. Dean Tong in just a couple of minutes, but first I want to hear from my good friends over at Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver, because let's face it, folks, it makes sense to save money. And right now, especially this portion of the year, and gas is a little bit pricey, why all the more reason. So we'll be right back. Go for it. I'll be right back.
Let us help you with the high price of fuel. Hello, I'm Ty Thompson at CleanStarProducts.com. We can optimize your engine, saving you money in gas. Here's how. Our program works the same with gasoline and diesel engines. Whether you're using a car pack or SUV pack, the instructions are the same. Add 1 bottle to your engine oil, and each time you change your oil, add 1 bottle to the fuel tank each and every fuel fill-up. It's that easy. You get 10% fuel economy on average, lower emissions, and increased horsepower. DX1 sells for $2 an ounce, so for just a few dollars a fuel tank, you can optimize your engine, saving you money in gas. Come on, give it a try. It's the finest green-grade oil in the world from a California environmental company. You're going to feel it when you drive. Order online today. We'll get it out right away. CleanStarProducts.com/shop.
That's right, folks. Clean Star Products with their money-saving fuel additive DX1 driver. I have 2 words for you. It works. I use it myself. I wouldn't have talked about it unless I knew that it was something of worth. And let's face it, there's a lot of snake oil out there, but it works. And if it could pass California's emissions and all their crap that they're throwing at us, it can pass anything. And it does work. It's just it's simple. It's a little bitty bottle right here. This services your average 4-door sedan. Now, I drive a bigger vehicle with a V8, and so the bottle's a little bit bigger, but you just take one of these, pour it into a clean oil change, and then every time you fill up your tank with gas, you pour one of these into the fuel tank, fill your tank up, and drive. It's that simple. Couldn't be any simpler. Anybody can do it. But don't believe me. Give them go to their website, www.cleanstarproducts.com, but more importantly, give them a call, 310-200-8931. They want to talk to you because they know that you'll have questions, because they believe in their product, because they know they had a product that works. So they'll talk to you. They'll answer all your questions. And especially the reason for calling is you mentioned you saw it on the Peter G Show, and they will send you 4 bottles for the 5 bottles. Better yet, hey, never mind. 5 bottles for the price of 4, as if I didn't know what I was talking about. 5 bottles for the price of 4 just for mentioning that you saw it on the Peter G Show. And that's a great starter kit because you put 1 in the clean oil change, which lasts the whole oil change, which on your average Toyota or American car is 5,000 miles. If you have a imported car or a German car, it's 10 or 12,000 miles. And then you just put one of those bottles into your tank and drive. I noticed the difference within about 3 tankfuls. And as I've said it many times, my daughter even noticed when she drove my car. And that's a lot because she doesn't notice much besides, things that pertain to her. And then she's not, mechanically inclined to be tuning her ear in. But if she notices it, I know there's got to be a difference because it's a heavy vehicle. And she says, yeah, I noticed I didn't have to put my foot in it as much to get it to go. And it's like, yeah, it works. All right, do that. Call them. They're proud of their product. Make it work for you, especially the high mileage vehicles. It cleans all that stuff out. It gives the car more lubricity. Auto repairs are expensive as hell. You can't get out of an auto shop for under $600 for diagnostics and all the crap they want to do. And then the actual bills in the 1,000 or more. Save yourself the trouble. Take care of your car. Good food, good body. Call them. It works. All right. That's simple. There we go with that. All right. So I think before we get started, just one last second little thing. As always, let's take a little sip. I want to thank everybody for watching. I love you guys. I truly do. Don't forget, share. And again, thank you for taking times out of your lives. I know that you could be doing other things, and don't think it doesn't go appreciated. All right. Salute. Woo. Smooth. It is. Isn't that right, Butthead?
Smooth.
Sure is. All right, I feel good now. Just had to get the old whistle wet before we get started. So I told you that I have a special guest on tonight, and we're going to be talking a lot about things that I've talked about in the beginning days of when this show first started, way back in the 40s. And I don't think we're starting out the year. This is the first show of the year talking about children and courts and divorces and allegations, accusations, procrastinations. And tonight, again, I couldn't start it any better than having a professional on the show who's got years of experience. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I have right here on this show Mr. Dean Tong. How are you? Uh-oh. Hey, Dean. I know I see you. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Hello, Dean.
Good evening, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Oh, good. All right. I thought I lost you there for a second. I can see you, but I didn't know if you heard me. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on. I can't remember how the hell we got hooked up or connected, but I'm glad that we did because, as I told you before, this is a subject and topic that's near and dear to me, and it's important that we talk about these things. Why don't you take a minute and tell everybody who you are and what you do and how long you've been doing it, and then we'll get into a few questions and things. We getting a delay? I think we are. Uh-oh. Hey, Dean? We did this. Hey, Dean, I think we're having an issue here. Do you think you can log off and log back on again? Can you hear me? This is weird. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting a recording error.
Uh-oh. Well, there we go. Okay, so let me give you a little rundown here. Back to me. So we line check and go through things hours, if not a day before, to see how things are going to work, people's connections and things like that. And everything was fine until we started the show. And everything was looking great. I go, great. If we can hold this and do this, it'll be wonderful. But I hope he logs back on, and maybe it was just a glitch, and we'll bring him back on. And let's see here. He's back on. All right, let's add him back on. All right, Dean, can you hear me okay now? Oh boy.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just wondering if there's a delay, because it seems like we're taking some time. But all right, so as long as you can hear me, great. Because I don't know what happened, but it happens, and that's life. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do and how long you've been doing it, and then we'll get into
I'm getting a recording error message here.
A recording error message. I don't know. I don't worry about that so much, so long as we're not getting a bad delay, because if we are, then it's going to be a little bit of a problem. But did you hear me? That I'd like you to just give our audience a little bit brief synopsis on yourself and how long you've been doing and what you're doing. I think we got a delay. Yeah, it's struggling. Uh-oh.
An subject matter expert.
I'm not getting you. Holy moly. Look at this. Dean, it's not working. It's, holy crap. Look at what I tell you. Hang on, I'm going to bring you back to normal. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We got some issues going on. For some reason, it's just not coming through. And you just logged on again. It's not processing. It feels like it's not wanting to process. I didn't go to backup with you because of phone backup, because I didn't think we were going to have an issue because we were doing so good this afternoon. I'm not hearing you either.
Yeah.
Okay, I just heard yeah. Okay. Move around for me. No, we got problems. Okay. Yeah. We got a delay going on, and you're stuttering, and I'm not hearing the audio, and I don't know why I decided to do this now. But it's doing that. I don't have we never try to back up. We talked about phone and things like that, but it's not, I can't hear you. Do you have access to try and log on with your phone and have it hold up to, on a stand or anything like that, and try that? I can't hear you. Hello? You're frozen. If you can hear me, I have no contact with you. Oh, I heard the phone ringing, but I can't hear you at all. These things happen. If there's any chance that you could log in, maybe with your phone, will give a better signal or process, or there we go. Yeah, I'm telling you, and I told him, I said, no matter how hard I try to make sure that we're good to go, there's always things that can happen, and it looks like that's what's going on right now. This is going to log on again. Let's try this again. Aha. All right. Hey, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, can you turn it horizontally?
Horizontally. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it won't. It's locked. It won't turn your body. Okay. Look, I'll take you the other way. It's fine. Is there any way you can just have it so you don't have to hold it all night? And
that would be nice.
Yeah, something. I'll take your look. So long as we get a signal, like I can hear you in real time now, but for whatever reason, something was very, very wrong, and we wouldn't have been able to continue. So if you can get that phone to just sit up properly, right there is good. I'll take it.
Okay, man, we're good.
All right, good. Your audio is good. Let's start over again. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dean Tong. And Dean, take a second and tell everybody who you are, how long you've been doing what you do, and then we'll go from there. But thank God it's working.
Yeah, so thanks for having me again, Peter. I am a nationally certified and registered child forensic interviewer. So I review and critique child forensic interviews in your neck of the woods. That would be conducted at the Gulf Coast Kids House in Escambia County, Pensacola.
Oh, wow.
But I do this all over the country. I'm also a certified forensic consultant, forensic trial expert, published author, subject matter expert in false allegation cases, usually child sex abuse cases. So I have consulted on 30,000 cases since 1995. I've been involved for 40 years, going through my own case in 1985 in Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida, where I was accused of molesting my own 3-year-old daughter within a divorce and custody battle. Of course, I was arrested. All charges were dropped. And then I had an epiphany. And that epiphany was there was a dearth of information out there for the public, for those who were wounded innocents, who didn't do anything wrong, who were possibly falsely accused in a divorce custody battle like I was, or another situation where another person was trying to gain an advantage in family court, child custody, child support, social status as most fit parent. So I took it to another level. I decided to go back to school, obtain a master's of science degree in child forensic studies and psychology and the law. I've written 3 books. You have my 3rd book there, Elusive Innocence, published in 2002. I have a 4th book being published next month, co-authored with a clinical forensic psychologist on false allegations and parental alienation. So this is a very volatile area of court, family court, criminal court, juvenile court, where DCF, which is our Child Protective Services agency, can come in and take your kids based on an anonymous phone call. But the accused has a right to due process. That right to due process includes not just an attorney, but experts, such as myself. Lawyers litigate cases. They file motions and pleadings in a court of law. They argue cases, but they usually don't testify. I testify on the witness stand in different areas of psychology and social science.
Right.
So I get involved in cases, all types of cases. Parental alienation, which is emotional, psychological, mental child abuse. Gaslighting, for example, a parent by one parent gaslighting another parent in front of the kid, psychologically abusing the child. I get involved in, obviously, child sex cases. I get involved in shaken baby syndrome cases, physical, medical child abuse cases, cases involving failure to protect, where perhaps mom's boyfriend was arrested for child sex abuse, and now the mom is being charged by DCF with failing to protect the child, basically allowing the alleged molestation to occur. I get involved in Munchausen by proxy cases, which is now called factitious disorder imposed upon another, where a mom may be questioning a doctor at a hospital or a nurse on medical findings, and she basically shops her kid to 3 or 4 or 5 doctors or clinics to get other opinions, and then the doctor calls into the government to report the mom for what used to be called Munchausen syndrome, basically trying to gain attention and basically trying to oversee the findings and opinions of experts at the hospital. So you can lose your kid that way. There's a lot of ways you can lose your kid to the government here in Florida and nationally. Anonymous phone calls, even confidential phone calls, where a person does give their demographics and their name. So mandated reporters, of course, are obligated to report any reasonable suspicion of child abuse. That would be a nurse, doctor, police officer, teacher, pastor. All these types of people are required to report abuse. And actually in Florida, the law changed in 2019, where every person in Florida is supposed to report alleged child abuse or neglect if they find that to be the case in real time with a child, whether it's your child or not your child. So it's a very sticky situation. Obviously, the government, has a huge job on their hands. We're not saying that kids are not abused physically or sexually. Of course, that happens. We're not saying that cases are not underreported, cases that are never reported, that should have been reported, right? For whatever reason, fear, embarrassment, humiliation, whatever. But they're not called in. But there was a study done by Dr. David Finkelhor from New Hampshire, the Crimes Against Children Laboratory, from 1990 to 2022. He conducted a 32-year study that showed that 63% of the child physical and sexual abuse cases had declined. The incidence had declined during that 30-plus year time frame. So, that basically speaks volumes that there are a lot of not perhaps people crying wolf, maliciously, falsely accusing in bad faith another person, but perhaps mistakes are being made, errors. Errors by professionals. Perhaps the caller suffered from false memories, or it was about a child who said, who had an issue with suggestibility, a kid who can talk about the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, or Peter Pan, or the Easter Bunny, might have said that, Daddy put his pee-pee on my pee-pee, when in fact that was a linguistic error. And what she saw Daddy do was actually urinate on top of her urine in the commode that she forgot to flush. So that's a linguistic error. Okay. So we get these mistakes that are made by well-meaning, well-intentioned, but perhaps misguided professionals. Because, this is a very knee-jerk reaction field where when you are accused of something so heinous and reprehensible as sexual abuse of a child, of course, there's going to be a gut reaction that you're automatically guilty because the allegation is so heinous. And then they this can be called confirmation bias, where they form a preconceived notion that you did what you're accused of doing, and there's no other possible hypothesis that you could put out there to defend yourself.
Wow. Dean, look, it's all bad, and whether it's in Florida or Nevada or anywhere, I mean, it's bad enough that there's actual child abuse, but getting railroaded for something you didn't do that's even harder. That's like defending yourself against a ghost. But let me ask you real quick: when you got accused of this many years ago, where were you at in your profession? What were you doing at the time professionally?
Yeah, I was a licensed medical laboratory technologist working at a lab in northern Florida when I got a call from my attorney because I had been in juvenile court and family court, going through a divorce with my wife at the time in 1985. That hey, I gotta escort you to the police department. You got to turn yourself in. And I said, say what? Yeah, you got to turn yourself in. You've been accused of sexual abuse of your daughter. And of course, they, I guess I was considered a big fish in a small pond because they did a perp walk on me. The Jacksonville media was all over this when I was being walked into jail in 1985. And mind you, Peter, this is before we had computers and internet and Google and social media and iPods and iPads and iPhones. We didn't have any of that back then in the 80s, right? All you had was a little brother word processor and the law library to maybe search LexisNexis and Westlaw. That's about it to help yourself. So there just wasn't any help out there. I just decided to take it on my own to help not myself, but other people who got caught up in this situation. And I did make it my career.
I mean, but isn't that crazy how, you got thrown into the fire and that fire changed your whole life's path to where you are now? I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, people who are drug addicted become counselors and things like that. But I haven't heard of anybody in this field with this type of story that, they were attorneys and they just picked which type of attorney you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, other people have had firsthand experience, right, and have gone on to become a professional or expert in that particular situation that they got caught up in. I was actually accepted to medical school right before I was accused. I was on my way to become a physician, and my then wife, she suffered from grand mal epilepsy. She was prescribed Tylenol, phenobarbital, to control her seizure disorder. and it's just very. It was been very cathartic for me to help other people in this situation, and obviously I have a big task on my shoulders because I am facing prosecutors in criminal cases and lawyers for the government, Child Protective Services for DCF, where I'm under very intense scrutiny and cross-examination.
Right.
And so it's kind of like go back to law-abiding citizen in that movie. It's not what you know; it's what you can prove in court, and that's the situation with all my cases.
How long did it take you from the time you were starting to go through this stuff to where you turned your life and you stopped the medical field stuff and then started going into the law side? How long did it take you to get to where you could actually start serving as a to help people or your services, start to be used?
Right. So 1995, Peter, when I relocated with what would be my second wife from Jacksonville to Tampa, 31 years ago out here in Hillsborough County. I'm now in Pasco County, but it's when I started professionally consulting with attorneys and other parents on cases. I didn't start to testify as an expert witness until right after the 9/11 in December of 2001. So about 25 years ago.
Huh. That's interesting. Okay, and the thing that went down with, how many children do you have? One?
I have two.
Two. So the one that you got in trouble, that was involved with your first marriage. I mean, how's that all? Did that all pass and you got through it and have a relationship with your child, or no?
No, not really. We did for a little while, but my daughter has, she suffers from emotional dysregulation from the issues, and she's her own person. So, she went through therapy as a little girl, play therapy, which, of course, I testify against therapists all the time, who instead of avoiding harm, they introduce harm into a situation, and she was treated with play therapy and treated as if she had been sexually abused, and so her mind became convinced that I did these things, regardless of what a court of law said.
Wow. And how, again, I have to ask these things because a lot of people go through these things, including myself. Basically, I didn't get the sexual abuse charge, but I still had to have my daughter go through therapy, and it was just all nonsense, because the courts, my wife at the time kept pushing for all that. But there's also a part, it's like how, what was your efforts to maintain your relationship with your daughter? Some people just, throw their hands up and walk away. I mean, the fight is hard. Did you, I guess what I'm asking is, did you really try to mend that whole scene? And for how long before you finally had to just let her make her own decisions?
Yeah. So no, I was a bad rash that wouldn't go away with Benadryl. I paid my child support timely, on time all those years till she, till she emancipated in 1999 when she turned 18. And that not just for her, but my son. I have a minor son too. He's a little younger than her, and of course she's in her 40s now. She just took it to in her mind that. She wanted to be estranged from me, and that's where that's at. That's where that has been for the better part of a decade now.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. Because I'm it's our children. You were cleared from all those charges?
Yes, I was.
And did they give you custody of her because of that? Give it back to you?
No, and you got to understand that back in the 80s, when I was going through this, the law in family court was not the child's best interest. It was the tender years doctrine, meaning any child who's preschool, as my daughter was, automatically went to mom unless mom was proved unfit. Well, ironically, in my case, the judge ruled my ex-wife was an unfit mother. But the the heinousness of the allegations against me outweighed and superseded her unfitness as a mother, and therefore she was awarded custody.
Wow. I mean, if you ask anybody typically from divorce, in my opinion, they say that, if you're a guy, you're going to get railroaded. I want to believe that it's a lot better in this day and age than it used to be, but I think that some of those issues still do occur depending on the judge. Am I correct or close?
Yeah. No, I had an old school judge, and ironically, his name is published on the St. Johns County Courthouse building where legal cases are heard in St. Augustine, Florida. So whenever I go through St. Augustine, if I go by the courthouse, that's my judge. That was my judge. He passed away about 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's very hard in court. I've seen these judges. I've lived it to where when you're finally in court and you're going and you have an attorney or whatever, they're flipping through pages while the lawyers are talking and they're doing their disco masters. Is that what it's called or whatever? They're just kind of, and did they read all the pages of litigation and all the things you wrote up the week before and got charged for by your attorney? Did they take that into, I found that everything I did really never even got looked at. Although I still came out okay, it's still very frustrating to have to go through all that because it's just like, they're like coroners nowadays. It's like, type of death. That's it.
Right. I mean, I work with attorneys all the time. I've testified about a little over 80 times in 20 different states in cases, and so I have to have a marriage with the client's attorney. That's very essential in order for me to do my job, to help the attorney, to help the client.
That could be very costly too. On top of it, I mean, if you don't have the money, what do you do?
So in criminal court or juvenile court, where you can lose your freedom or your kids, if you are indigent or insolvent, I belong to what's called the JAC out of Tallahassee, which is the Justice Administrative Commission. I've been with them for over 15 years. The website is justiceadmin.org. And so if you don't have the resources and you're going through a criminal case or a juvenile case, you've lost your freedom, you've lost your children, you can get my services through your attorney, so long as you fill out a affidavit that you are indigent, and the court finds you indigent in a court order, and then the judge will order the state to pay me for my time and my work and my fees. And I give everybody a 50% discount if they're in that status of indigency or insolvency.
Right, because it's hard, and I mean, to me, the worst thing you could have done. I didn't care about the divorce. I walked away from the stuff, but when we were talking about our child, that was a whole different thing, and we're going to get into that down the road here in this conversation about people seeing red and going nuts and doing bad things because of the rage that can be brought out from within because of how much you love that child and you're being railroaded. But it's very, very hard. It's very emotional.
Oh, extremely. I've had two cases. One client was a perpetrator of a homicide, and another client was a victim of a homicide, both out of family court cases. And surreal is all I can say, and unimaginable, unthinkable. And of course, not just for the deceased, but for the kids.
Yeah, of course, they got to live with that. Let me again, I got so many questions, so I may go back and forth on, in no particular order, but I want to talk about your book real quick, because the thing about this book is it says, your book entitled Elusive Innocence, Survival Guide for the Falsely Accused. And it says, this book should be required reading for any parent, lawyer, or social worker involved in divorce and child custody disputes. So this is like this is like your go-to book for reasonability and common sense, from what I'm gathering here.
Yeah, and I got into a little bit of law and science in the book. There are chapters on borderline personality disorder and parental alienation, suggestibility and false memories. and I think the quote you just gave the audience there was from attorney Roy Black. And Roy Black passed away not long ago. He was a fantastic attorney, criminal defense attorney down in Dade County in Miami. If you recall, he was the litigator for William Kennedy Smith in the rape trial in the early 90s when he was charged with that in West Palm Beach. And so look, lawyers are difficult to get to get them to listen.
Yeah.
And they don't like to go off course with their theory or strategy on how they want to litigate a case and try a case. I'm just a tool, is all I am, to assist the attorneys to give professional opinions in multiple areas of psychology and social science, especially the reliability and trustworthiness of child forensic interviews. Some interviewers will use suggestive leading, direct and repeated questions, option posing, forced choice questions to basically makes it easier for a kid to tell their story, which could implicate the accused because their mind is being manipulated by the suggestive and leading question. So a leading question is when the interviewer introduces information like, okay, so I heard your daddy touched your pee-pee. Well, the kid didn't say that, the interviewer did. So that's also a direct question because it's calling for a yes/no response. So the kid can just shake her head yes or say yes, and that's it. From there, it's just reinforcement, positive reinforcing the mindset of the interviewer, which is she's trying to validate and justify her theory that, okay, this is what happened. The kid was molested. This is who did it. Her father. That's it. Game over. I'm not going to look at any other hypothesis or explanation of the kid's background, whether she's got mental health issues, whether her family's in a family distress situation, conflict, divorce, custody, whatever, where she might be coached to say things that never happened. Or she's got an axe to grind with the accused, the father, or whatever. So there are interviews who don't even go down that road.
Wow. I would think if anybody was to hire a defense attorney and then they're even going to hire you on top of it, that they're, really going for their life and they are innocent. But how many times have you been hired to where, naturally, if somebody got accused for sexual abuse to a child, I don't think they're going to just lay down and go, yeah, I did it. They're going to say no to till they can't prove no anymore. Have you been caught in cases to where you had to talk to the other attorney and say, listen, I can't help you because things aren't adding up here? Or are you basically been hired?
So one of my advocacy things that I require as a consultant, not as an expert witness, but as a consultant, is I require my clients to go through psychosexual testing to basically prove a negative. This is more sensitive and reliable and trustworthy than a polygraph. So one of the tests is called the ABLE Assessment for Sexual Interest, or ABLE Screen Test. It is somewhat conducted off a laptop computer, as well as there's a written ABLE questionnaire for men. And we're assessing the accused's level of sexual interest or arousal to pictures of children versus consensual relations with adult females. We're also looking for the accused's level of cognitive distortions, whether they suffer from thinking errors or they're trying to justify their actual abuse. So I've been working with the same doc for 20 years now who tests my clients for this psychosexual proclivity, if you will, or penchant to sexually abuse a child. Because we know from the science that sexual interest precedes the act of sexual assault or abuse. Now, even if the client passes the testing, gets a clean bill of health, the opposing counsel could file what's called a motion in limine, which is a motion to limit or exclude that report from my doctor from coming into evidence under the court record. and then we go through a contested hearing. It's called a Daubert hearing here in Florida, which is basically science and controversy, where the judge becomes the gatekeeper of that science. So I've been doing this for decades, have worked with this doctor for decades, and I get guys that flunk. There are guys that will flunk the testing. I've had guys who have confessed to this and actually did it. I've had guys who've confessed, but they confessed to the REID technique, R-E-I-D technique, which is an interrogative methodology used by the police to get accused to cough up confessions to a crime they didn't do or commit. So I don't testify as an expert for false confessions, but I have a referrals psychologists who do so. And so, there's a lot of issues here that come to the table and come to the forefront, where a attorney may need multiple experts. For example, if the findings of the rape exam of the child are on the 50-yard line, that's not good enough. You may need your own trauma physician or pediatrician to impeach the findings and opinions of the state's expert.
What? And you're telling me that a test? I mean, what if they're just really damn good liars?
Well, this is not one of the tests we do administer is called the MMPI-3, which is our most general custody test. It's a very common custody test that's administered by psychologists. It does have a built-in lie scale or L scale as a validity scale built in within that test. But this is not a polygraph.
Right.
So the doctor can't say to any degree of certainty whether the accused is lying or telling the truth. The doctor can't say to any certainty that the accused has perpetrated child molestation or not. And as experts, we can't testify to credibility. That's within the purview of the judge and jury. So I can lead the horse to the water, but I can't make him drink it.
Okay, so you mentioned a little while ago that some of these guys have confessed. Let's say they confessed. Do you then walk away, or you're still obligated to try to get him off the charge?
No, at that point, I walk away. The attorney has a different oath, if you will, because the attorney's an advocate. I'm not. I'm a neutral, independent, objective expert. So basically, I start off at the 50-yard line and let my findings and opinions go where the data and the reports and everything else takes me. The attorney's an advocate. He or she will represent their client till the end, even if it requires a plea bargain or plea agreement to the best deal that the accused can get.
Right. So, but does that go on record that you were looked into it and declined, or that doesn't ever go into court?
No, that never really matters to the opposing lawyer or the judge. And for that matter, I wouldn't be giving expert testimony anyway.
Right. Okay. Physical abuse versus sexual abuse. I mean, you see a lot of physical abuse charges, or how do you not? I mean, to say physical abuse, there's got to be something physically visible, isn't there? I mean, besides sexual abuse.
Yeah. So, we have statutes obviously on both. The state really doesn't want parents to spank their kids. To be frank, they don't believe in corporal punishment. This is the government in loco parentis. The state is the parent. Yeah. So they really don't want you to even spank your kids on the buttocks. Follow that up with a hug, where the hug is the last thing the kid will remember.
Yeah.
They've done studies on this, and certainly there are two schools of thought on this. It's a divisive issue, just like the sex abuse issue. They're both controversial. But you're right. If there were no welts or marks or hematomas or bruises, soft tissue or broken bones or fractures, will they bring a case? That's up to the officer. If he finds probable cause, it's up to the state attorney if they're going to prosecute. Obviously, to prosecute successfully, they have to convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt to get a conviction.
Right. I just think that this soft parenting thing that's going on these past few decades, my 20-year-old watches a 4-year-old, and she just told me a week ago on, how the parents, they're great people, but they just do things so lightly that it doesn't do anything. And my 20-year-old is talking to me, and I tell her all the times about how I used to get my ass beat and it worked. She goes, I agree. I'm not talking about hurting the people, but this I'm going to put you in a timeout. There's just certain things that you're not going to learn anything from. So there's this fine line.
Yeah.
And then you have the state and the authorities, somebody says anything about it to you, you're going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, the state would prefer you do time out, take away privileges, right?
Yeah.
If your husband is a military guy, a veteran, obviously he may be a guy who gravitates to tough love, and the state doesn't like that, right? And so you may get a knock on the door. An anonymous neighbor saw your little 3-year-old run into the yard and was wore shorts and could see visible bruises.
Yeah.
Even though the kid's a toddler.
Yeah.
And calls it in. And once the call goes in, it's up to that caseworker, whether she finds abuse or not, to pursue a case or not.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's a problem. The strangers come in and they within 15 minutes, they're judging your whole life and they can make you or break you. My father, I told you, was old school Greek. And, and the times I did get my ass beat, I deserved it because, he didn't just beat my ass for no reason. And there was a reason for it. And it all adds up now as growing up. And I turned out okay. It depends who you ask. But the falsely accused, this has got to be a heartbreaker because it's bad enough when something, goes bad with the child, but another parent putting a child up to say things, the damage goes beyond the other adult being accused. I mean, you're making a child have to live a lie and then they take that with them. What's the fallout from all this stuff?
Well, it's as bad as if a kid has actually been raped. Years of therapy, and the therapy has to be specific therapy, perhaps cognitive processing therapy or schema therapy to deprogram the child from coaching, to basically rewire the child's brain to not think bad thoughts about the accused. Sexual abuse usually perpetrated by a man, not a woman. So usually my clients in sex abuse arena are men, perhaps fathers, stepfathers, uncles. I just got finished with a trial in Southeast Florida with a 78-year-old grandfather. So I've had cases with child on child abuse, where a 17-year-old rather was accused of abusing an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
So I see all genders, all ages, and they're very difficult cases. You've got to roll up your sleeves and do the work. My job is to help the attorney intersect the science, the law, the facts, and the alleged facts. If you can connect those 4 dots in court, usually you will prevail.
Well, it's a sticky subject. I mean, again, the minute you're accused, most people are going to go, oh, my God, and you're going to be guilty, prejudged ahead of time. But I mean, a lot of this stuff does go on. That's the problem. I've heard of so many, grandpa diddled, his granddaughter, and all these things. And that's the problem. These things actually went on. So it leaves a stigma in people's minds. It's like it's not so outrageous that it can't be done. So trying to prove yourself if you're innocent, what has this done mentally for the people that are innocent, that have been going through this, that you have dealt with? I mean, as adults, getting railroaded.
Well, that stigma is always there, right? I mean, I've got plenty of haters out there for the work that I do. And I'm sure there are people out there who think that I did what I was accused of doing, that I just beat the rap, right?
Yeah.
Because my family had resources to help me. You get as much justice as you can afford, is the old saying.
Right.
Well, I've won cases with public defenders where I've charged half my fees And the public defenders, God knows what they're getting. They're not making much at all.
Yeah.
And so, I've worked with good lawyers, mediocre lawyers, great lawyers, not so good lawyers. But, the emotional fallout for the falsely accused, it's surreal. It's hard to put it away. It's hard to do things you like to do in life and not have to think about what you went through during that ordeal.
I'm thinking that this allegations, or saying that people, women, or something out of anger or for custody, this is probably more common than you think, because when I was going through my divorce, as I told you before, that my attorney, we were going and going and going, and at the end he says, she's run out of things to bring you into court for. I'm really surprised she didn't pull the sexual abuse card, which, thank God, that she had enough decency to not do that. But a lot of women will do that. What am I correct in saying that this is pretty normal that they pull that card a lot?
It happens a lot. I mean, it's been referred to as an epidemic. It's known as divorce's atomic bomb, the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
And the actual scientific area is called SAID, S-A-I-D, sexual allegations in divorce. It's one of the areas that I give professional expert testimony in. It's basically the 911 of parental alienation, with parental alienation being psychological, mental, and emotional child abuse. So it's the quickest way to eradicate somebody, perhaps a father. I called it a fatherectomy in the book that you have there, Elusive Innocence, chapter 14. Basically, the evisceration of the father from the children's lives and vice versa. Because this is the one allegation that will raise the eyebrows off of the trier of fact, which is the judge.
Yeah. And again, I truly believe that unless there is actual abuse or something like that, regardless of the issues that the mother and the father are having, a child needs both parents. I'm at least that's my belief. If they're decent people, they, regardless of divorce or whatever, they both need to be in the picture to contribute to that child's upbringing, and not just a monthly paycheck. But this is what happens.
Absolutely essential. You go back to the 80s, Dr. Sanford Braver, to 1994, the meta-analytic study authored, published by Dr. Robert Bauserman. Basically, the best parent is both parents, essential. And in fact, the law changed in Florida, July 1st of 2023. We are now a presumptive 50-50 joint physical custody, legal custody state. So the presumption is 50-50 now in Florida, where a party would have to prove the other party is abusive, neglectful, or unfit to undo that presumption.
And that's a good thing, because that happened to me, and I think that's the right thing to do. What's your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, and we've seen Kentucky, we've seen Maryland, California, of course, was the first state to enact 50-50 joint custody. You go back to 1969 when Ronald Reagan was governor there. And no-fault divorce hit America. Basically meaning you don't have to prove anything in your divorce to get a divorce. Right. No fault. And then you go onto Facebook today and you read all the stories about people in jail or their kids are taken away on an allegation of child sexual abuse, and there's no proof, no evidence. Well, the proof or the evidence are in the words of the mouths of babes. The proof and the evidence are coming from the mouths of those children. Now, they might have been coached, they might have been led by faulty interviewers, but that's the proof. This is called the exception to the hearsay rule, and it can wind you up in handcuffs, and it can cause you to have your kids taken away.
Yeah, I don't know what year these laws with the 50-50. I went through my divorce in California, and I had a friend of mine who was basically in the same situation with two twin little girls at the time. I got the 50-50. he was in an LA court, because I was in a Ventura County court, and he was in an LA court, and I'm talking about a sweetheart of a man, the guy who goes and volunteers for the PTA, and even when his children left that school, still volunteered for the PTA, and he got railroaded royally in custody. He got, if he was lucky, I think it was like 15%. And it was all because of the judge he was dealing with. It was all on that judge that was making this decision. And so what happened to that 50-50? I didn't even know that it was a 50-50 at the time. I thought that the mediator woman that I thought was going to fry me saw right through my ex and just gave us that until we worked it out. I thought I just got lucky.
Yeah, that's a shame with that gentleman.
Oh, I bled for him, because I saw the pain that he didn't finally get. They had to grow up basically before he finally was able to establish, when he cannot have them, to when the children became adults, 18, to like, I want to go to dad's. It was horrible.
Yeah, these are tough decisions, right, being made by judges and juries, and certainly, you have to retain the best attorney that money can buy to make sure you have a fighting chance in court. They're not all created equal. And I suggest everybody go to avvo.com and check the legal reviews of an attorney you're thinking of hiring before you do so.
I know that my friend paid through the nose, who, he went, and, you don't know, you're right. Listen, if I knew what I know now going through divorce, I would have done it a lot differently, but it was my first time and hopefully my last time, because it was the experience I wish I never had. Although I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this show if it wasn't for that, but somehow or another, I still would have rather done without it. But experience. You're going through it. Your head is spinning. You know how people are constantly calling their attorney, freaking out. She said this, he said that. And in the meantime, they pick up the phone and they talk to you, and they're writing down how many minutes they talk to you, and you get a $400 an hour bill.
Yeah. They'll bill you for anything today. Texting, phone calls. If the attorney talks to me, the client will get billed for the time the attorney talks to me. So and the first thing lawyers learn in law school are the words billable hours.
I can't complain. My attorney was decent, but we were always answering the call because her attorney was winding her up. His office was 2 blocks from the courthouse. You know that he was there all the time. He was probably friends with everybody. And at the end, the only time it all got wound up is when we started running out of money, and then everybody goes into the back because they probably all went to school together or whatever, and they go, we got to wrap this up, so let's they're out of money, and it's it. And that's really kind of sad, but in the meantime, the children and the whole situation is suffering.
It's a sad situation. These cases are marathons, not sprints, so buckle up your seatbelt, because it's going to be a while. Most of my cases last anywhere from 6 to 9 months to 6 years. I've had cases go beyond 5 years a few times.
Yeah, and a bill like that is in the hundreds of thousands or over $1 million. What these people? Yeah,
I had one case from Arizona back from 2010 to 2013. My client was a gastroenterologist. Mom was a psychiatrist. The total amount of resources exchanged in that case was $1.2 million.
Yeah. I had a woman on my show from Arizona, and she was over $500,000 in attorney's fees, and still there was no control. It was still chaotic as hell. And this was a mother fighting for her child because the husband just was a great manipulator, or father of the child was a great manipulator and knew how to work the system. And she's the one suffering. So it was reverse roles, but who's caught in the middle? The child,
Right.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy right there is the child. And I'm thankful that they donate, or I should say they recognize rather, a month for the child, which is April. National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month is April every year, and April 25th is International Parental Alienation Day, where there are. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I just realized this while I was gearing up for you this afternoon that this whole National Child Abuse and Awareness and Prevention Month, this started in 1983. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, and DCF in Florida, they will spend money to effect billboards, public service announcements to protect children. They may falsely embellish statistics to scare people to donate perhaps more money to the issue, and they get paid. There's Title 4D and E of the Social Security Act. There's the Mondale Act, 1974, CAPTA, Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act. So they're getting paid by the federal government to keep the ball rolling, if you will, to find abuse, to find cases that will be substantiated. They call it verified here in Florida, which means they're preponderating a case by 51% more evidence than not. So there is a money factor involved. With that said, look, all children need to be protected. All children need to be out of harm's way, not in a jeopardy, high risk situation. And we all owe a duty to protect kids, whether they're our kids or not our kids.
Right.
And I'm all for that. But there is another side to this, and that side, this side that I became an expert in, is based on hearsay. He said, she said, what a child said, and basically that's all that's required to get into court. In criminal court in Florida, if you're involved in a case that's in my world, child hearsay, the state of Florida is required by law to file a notice of intent to introduce child hearsay. There has to be what's called a child hearsay hearing, where the judge has to rule whether said hearsay coming from the child is reliable and trustworthy or not.
Do the children have to get attorneys as well? Because I know in California, my buddy had to get attorneys for his own children, and he was just so freaking out at like what a waste of money it was, and the therapies and all that kind of stuff. Do you have to have them over in Florida as well?
So in Florida, in family and juvenile court, the children will get most of the time what's called a guardian ad litem, which is a lawyer to represent them. In criminal court, they get an advocate. They get a child advocate. They have the prosecutor who represents them for free as a victim, the child being a victim. The child's a victim whether the child's been abused or not abused. The child's still a victim.
Right.
But certainly, there are attorneys that help kids for sure. There's a lawyer down in Fort Lauderdale. His website is justiceforkids.com, I believe, and a great advocate for children down there, and certainly Governor DeSantis has contributed, has passed legislation, I should say, on behalf of children in this state during his 8 years as governor here. Has done a fantastic job in helping kids, protecting them, and so kudos to him.
Yeah, because it's just a shame. I mean, because they warp their brains when they're little, and some kids will grow up to be adults and shake it off, but some just can't, and they carry it with them and become that person, and it just destroys them. Their life never gets back to normal, and they just constantly will be doomed because of that, what that was instilled with them as when they were younger, and it's just a shame. It's sad.
Yep. Yeah. Past behavior predicts future behavior, and certainly children are suggestible. They can basically become victims of delusions by a parent, coached to say things that never happen. I had a
Right.
horrible case. I had a horrible case in Daytona Beach in 2019. I was representing a mom who was accused of coaching her son, who allegedly falsely accused his father of anal sodomy. And it was a long litigious trial, lasted all summer in 2019. We won. We defeated the government in that case, and that just doesn't happen. The government has just a boatload of support with professionals and resources, and across the table was our attorney, myself, and our client, the mother. That's it. There had to be 15 people on the other side of the courtroom. But it's a very strenuous situation. You have to be focused at all times. Direct and cross and redirect and recross examination of lay, fact, and expert witnesses. And again, to be on the same page, all I's dotted and T's crossed, the client, the expert, and the attorney is not easy. That's not an easy task, to perform, but it's necessary. It has to happen.
How old was the child, the boy?
He was 4 at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay. See,
Yeah.
I mean, what is it basically? It's like the child doesn't want to disappoint mommy, or how do they turn them against another parent?
Well, so when I'm going over the forensic interview of that child, I'm looking to see if the interviewer screened the child for coaching, because obviously my client, the mom, is accused of that, right?
Right.
That's why she had her child taken away. And so the interviewer didn't ask the child, what were you told before you came to talk to me today? Or who told you what to say before you came to talk to me today? So that would be screening that kid for coaching or indoctrination or conditioning or brainwashing.
Right.
And the question's just never asked. And so this is called source monitoring in psychology, where we are looking to see if the professional explored alternative hypotheses, other explanations for why the child allegedly said what he said.
Yeah.
Usually kids as young as 3.5 can give salient details of actual abuse or cognitively lie. That's about the lowest age that they can do that. And when they developmentally augment in their milestones, so the next would be 7 to 8 is what we call the psychological age of reason, where a child definitely should know right from wrong, truth from lie, good touches from bad touches, from secret touches.
Right. But even then, I mean, kids generally aren't that good of liars. Am I right on that? I mean, unless they're told what to say, they really can't lie that well, because they don't know how to make it up that well.
Yeah, their brain is not as formed as ours as adults that young.
Yeah.
And so you don't often see that with younger kids lying like that. It's the older kids, the 14-year-olds, not the 4-year-olds, who would do that.
Right.
The younger kids would be confused, right? They may have been told things to say by one parent versus another parent, or not told anything at all. And so in that case, there were suspect medical findings, which of course I can't give an opinion on that. That's up to the physician or what we call sane nurse, sexual abuse nurse examiner, who does the anogenital rape exam of the child.
Wow. And the older the teens, when you see the hatred, I mean, or they don't like one of the parents, I mean, and you think they're being coached, I mean, that too, do you feel that's a form of brainwashing also by one parent who is like, it's almost like, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome or something like that, to where it doesn't matter, you just hate them because you're told to hate them.
Yeah. And so we're looking to see if on a scale of alienation, right? We're looking to see if the child progresses from resisting to disconnecting to rejecting what we call the targeted parent or the accused parent, and it meshes or gravitates to the alienated parent.
Right.
So the alienated parent can use these coercive control techniques, and she, that person, that alienated parent could be what we call using maladaptive gatekeeping. So she's blocking the visitations to the child, even though a court order says that the father has visitation rights, or in Florida it's called time sharing, not visitation, but time sharing.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I'm looking for that. Those kids are more apt to be susceptible to gravitate to an alienated parent. They might not want to be with the other parent because that parent doesn't provide the privileges that the other parent does.
Yeah.
Maybe that parent is stricter, takes away her cell phone. She doesn't get the good food she likes to eat that she gets in the other house, or she doesn't get to mingle on her social media past 7 o'clock at night versus the other parent. A lot of reasons can come to the table on a situation like that.
Out of all the cases, I mean, you've done, a gazillion, and the ones you had to walk away from that were like, okay, this person really is a crappy person and I can't do this. What's the percentage, would you say, of, the 20% of all everything you've done that where you've just had to say no, or because there's people that are really crappy parents that don't deserve to be parents, and rightfully so, but there are those ones that just get the brainwashing starts and they get falsely accused and they're fighting for their lives. But what's the ratio?
Well, based on the testing, I'm going back to the testing reports of my clients.
Okay.
I would say only about 1 in 25% that I actually have to walk away from.
Really?
Yeah, it's very low. Most of my clients pass the testing.
Yeah.
Not all the time is the clean, benign, innocuous report used in court. That's up to the lawyer.
Yeah.
So the lawyer is the quarterback. I'm the running back. Oftentimes I score the touchdown as a running back, but the lawyer controls the litigation. I don't.
Right.
So the lawyer governs whether a certain report is going to come into evidence on the record. The lawyer determines what witnesses will testify. Oftentimes in my cases, lawyers decide, you know what, Dean, our client is just not, I don't think he's going to be likable. I don't think he's going to come across good as a witness testifying. I'm not going to have him testify. And we might bicker on that. I might say, well, yeah, but Mr. Jones, the jury wants to hear from him. The jury wants to hear his side of the story. If the jury only hears the state's side, what chance do we have, right?
Right.
And so, these are lay juries. These are humans. They come from all walks of life. In Florida, you only get a 6-man jury. In the case of capital sexual battery and lewd and lascivious molestation, you only get a 6-person jury. You don't get a 12-person jury, like a lot of states. And so, it's difficult to get a unanimous vote, 6-0, that your client is not guilty. Now, I'm grateful and humble to know that I've achieved about 20 to 25 not guilty verdicts in my cases. Some of those from Florida over the years. I've got other cases where I had a hung jury and mistrial. We won that case. I had another case in Orlando. That was Lake County, Tavares, Leesburg, but the attorney was out of Orlando. Motion for judgment on acquittal was granted, so we won that case. And I've had a slew of great plea agreements for clients where clients of mine have avoided felony convictions, avoided prison, avoided sex offender registration. And that's the kicker in these cases, right? So you can kill somebody and there's no registry for murder. But in these cases with sex abuse, you will have to register as a sex offender, and oftentimes for life.
Right.
So there's a lot hanging in the balance here for the accused.
Yeah, it'll ruin you. I didn't even know that you were allowed a jury. I guess you're allowed a jury because it becomes a criminal case at that point. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in some states, Peter, the law is such that, for example, Texas, you can have a trial by judge or jury.
Right. I never had. We only had a judge, and that was the whole thing. You're praying that the judge is reasonable. I think reasonable is a big key word when it comes to divorce on everything in the court, from the both sides. Being reasonable and.
There have been polls on Facebook before where folks would like to see juries impaneled in family court cases, where it's always a judge. They would like to see a jury decide on who should get custody.
Yeah, as if they're not busy enough. I mean, this is the problem. It's really hard. You've been involved in some higher profile cases and things like that. I mean, I have a couple of names, Timothy Busfield and things like that. Care to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, he's not my client. He's the husband of Melissa Gilbert.
That's right. But I got that. But you were going to
actress in Little House on the Prairie. He's under criminal charges in New Mexico for child molestation,
right?
Apparently, of a couple of boys that were cast in a movie that he was involved in back in 2013. Right. And I believe there's another allegation of him allegedly molesting a girl, age 16. So he's got his own case going on, and that case probably will go to trial, I would imagine, next year.
Yeah, that's a high profile. I mean, that was on national news. Talk about getting spread all over the place. How do you defend when you got that all over the news like that, and you're trying to prove your innocence?
Yeah, so a judge, I guess, could be asked to issue a gag order where nobody talks to the press, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that happen a few times. Of course, there's a constitutional First Amendment right there. Which comes into play, and the ACLU could get involved there.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
right.
Everything gets leaked out.
Yeah, and so New Mexico. I have a case going on in New Mexico, so that's a tough state to have a case like Busfield is facing with his allegations. We just saw Alec Baldwin finish up a case. He was making a movie there in New Mexico,
right?
And a gun, a toy gun or some gun went off and killed a woman. Yeah.
I mean, he got off on that.
He did. On the criminal side. I don't know about the civil side.
No, they're suing him on the personal side too. But I mean, that's touchy because he apparently didn't know that he was handed a real gun, because the real guns look just like the fake guns, and that's a whole different kind of situation. But what the whole the high profile stuff again, John Mast.
So John Mast, MAST, was a client of mine who hired me in late 2019. He was involved in a domestic violence situation, allegations of him raping his wife, and then it escalated to allegations of him sexually assaulting his daughter and his son. So I had a lot of work on my shoulders on that case, a plethora of court documents and interviews for me to review. I testified in that case right after COVID started, May of 2020, by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I was able to assist John in vindicating him of all abuse allegations. It did take the judge 7 months to come to a finding. That case was out of Williston, North Dakota. The wife had absconded with his kids, the son and the daughter, to Lewiston, Idaho, while all this was going on.
Yeah.
In December 2020, the judge exonerated John and allowed him to have his first visitation with his kids in 3 years. He was to see them February 5th, 2021, at a grocery store parking lot in Lewiston, Idaho. When he showed up, not only did he not see his kids when he got out of his van to see those kids, the maternal grandfather was there with a 9mm Glock and shot him 3 times in the back. as he was running away after seeing the flashing of the gun. He saw the gun flashing in the light. You know, it was just a horrible situation. I didn't find out until the next day. I think I got a call from his father, and the killer, the maternal grandfather, basically got a slap on the wrist. In my opinion, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison in that case. So it was clearly premeditated, clearly pre-planned. I was one of only about 5 or 6 people who were privy to the maternal grandfather's testimony under oath at his deposition. So I know what he said well before this incident happened. And it was clearly done in bad faith, which I just couldn't. It just boggles my mind why he didn't get the death penalty, because Idaho does allow for the death penalty.
It's just that those charges, you have 3 people saying that he did bad things to all 3 of them. How do they all go into cahoots? Why would that so much hatred be towards the father that the kids would go in on it too?
Yeah, this was the worst case of parental alienation I ever saw, because during the supervised visitations, the notes that I was reading, the kids were throwing things at John. They were spitting on him. They were calling him names and belittling him, throwing things at him. Just horrible. And the visitation supervisor allowed it to continue. It was just boggling my mind what was going on with this case. And I wasn't making any inroads with the attorneys, I should say. He had 2 attorneys.
How do you get
So very, very, very sad, very tragic. John was only around 40 years old when he got shot and killed, and of course left those 2 little kids in the home of the family that I believe were the real abusers.
Right. I mean, that's some brainwashing right there. You have to. I mean, not that that's not doable, but that's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so, again, this kind of stuff is just doing things for money. You mentioned something we were talking on the pre-talk for the show. Things like Michael Jackson getting railroaded, being accused of doing things to kids and things like that. I mean, there's so many people that will do that kind of stuff for money. How much do you run across a lot of that?
Well, I don't have many clients that have the wealth that Michael Jackson had, right? So when Michael was arrested in 2003 and indicted, his bail was set at $3 million.
Right.
Obviously, he got out of jail. Most people are not going to be able to make that bail.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that case had Chuck King written all over it. It still does, because the case is still the Jackson estate is being sued by allegedly a couple of adult children that Michael molested 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how this continues, but I was one of the spokespeople who was sponsored by Court TV, who was at Michael's trial in 2005 in Santa Maria, California.
Huh. Yeah, I'm pretty close to people who were very close with him. And yeah, he was different because of the way he was brought up as a star all the time. But they looked at me and just said he loved kids. I mean, he said that like kids were the only ones that would not, be after him for some, everybody came around him, wanted something, but kids were just, they're innocent. Kids could be screaming and yelling, crying, and then 10 minutes later, they're happy and they forgot all about that kind of stuff because they're innocent pretty much.
Yeah.
And he got, and he was just saying, he goes, yeah, they're just railroading him because he's Michael Jackson. And it just sucked because he truly loved children. Now, whether you believe that he did something or don't believe, I don't believe he did. I just believe that they set him up and that stigma stayed in everybody's heads. And he's a little odd, but he was just a guy that wanted to be, not be pressured. He grew up under pressure.
Well, he made some comments in that Martin Bashir interview, which he shouldn't have made, right? Perhaps inculpatory statements. almost like it was okay to have a kid in his bed. It didn't state succinctly that he touched any kid or a kid touched him, right? Sexually speaking, but the inference was there.
Yeah.
And so while there was no proof or evidence that he sexually abused or touched children or vice versa,
Right.
There was the inference that, well, maybe he was guilty of a paraphilia. And what I mean by that is a sexual attraction because he had a kid in his bed or kids in his bed, and maybe he ran to the bathroom naked or nude, and that would be considered exhibitionism, which is a paraphilia.
Yeah.
And so when I was interviewed, by Fox News Channel and Court TV and CNN in that case, I was asked, did you put Michael through a psychosexual? I said, well, first of all, I was never retained on the case by Michael's attorney, and Michael was first accused, if you recall, in '93, and then again in '03, right, 10 years later.
Right.
But there would have been paparazzi following Michael to my doctor's office, perhaps in helicopters.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, easily. But again, it's all business to a lot of people, and again, you believe what you want. I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of sad. For most people, these accusations, if they're not true, it's damning. It's so damning, and try to recover from that. And even if you're proven innocent, people are still going to have that thought in their head that, like, he got off on it, but did he really or did he not? Unless somebody's super, super close that really understands that person and knows he's just being railroaded, he or she or whatever. But
you only have to worry about winning your case in a court of law. You don't worry about the court of public opinion, Peter.
I know, but most people are human. I mean, in your state, in your aspect, yes. But after it's all said and done, you still go around town or this and that for the people that don't know any better because they saw it on the news that you were accused of something, and there's never the big celebration on the news that you were found innocent. It's only the bad stuff that they put on there.
No, you're right, and most of Facebook will tell you in the comments section, just give them a bullet.
Yeah. I told you we're running short on time now, but I want to tell the people you got a new book coming out, correct?
I do.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, Parents Pawns, expert advice in navigating false allegations of parental alienation, co-authored with a clinical forensic psychologist, myself, also, of course, will be published in a month, around May 20th. And so that book, we talk about the parental alienating behaviors. We talk about the causes and effects of parental alienation, false allegations, hearsay exceptions, risk assessments, the psychosexual testing we've talked about here on this show tonight. It's all there. Expert advice, practical advice. The doctor who I co-authored the book with is a practicing psychologist. So he takes cases, he testifies in cases, he consults on cases, and he's written in Psychiatric Times, published there. And so he's a real stickler on timeline. So anybody who has a case who's listening out there, make sure you create a timeline, a journal or chronology by dates and events of your case. Date and event, date and event, date and event. Go into your word processor of your computer and store that and print it out. Give it to your attorney. And I require that when I'm hired onto a case. I have to see that timeline. I have to know where the case was to be able to get to where the case is, and how I think the strategy and theory should be woven to clear the accused name if that person is truly innocent.
Well, and that book is coming out when?
Yeah, May 20th is the announced date, I've been told. Yeah,
soon. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to tell people. I mean, look. Before that, I mean, I had so much paperwork. in the 2.5, almost 3 years of my courts, that it was a big filing cabinet full. And I held on to it because I honestly was going to write a book about all the hell that you go through. And
Yeah.
before I moved out of California, just recently, I shredded it all. I said I did not want my daughter to have, if God forbid anything happened to me, see all the nastiness, the letters, the note back and forth from the lawyers, the attorneys, the emails from my ex, and all that stuff. And I shredded it all, and I just let it go. I said, that's it, I'm done. As much as I wanted it, I let it go. You just switched. All right, now you're here. Hey, look, there you are.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. So I just let it go, and I started reading things because I needed to remember, but because I was ex parte'd to death, and all these things I never knew that I honestly wish I never knew. But I just stopped, and again, I survived it, and I just tried to be an advocate now when I can about people to keep them from drinking themselves under the table. Because I'm sure you've seen people fall apart because of all this.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. You got to stay focused, and you got to work as a team here.
Yeah, well, it's a bitch. All right, I want to tell everybody, if they want to find out more of how to see more about you, you have a website, correct?
I do.
And www.abuse-excuse.com.
Abuse-excuse.com.
Right, and they can find all kinds of information on you, or just use your services and or your books and all that, right?
Yeah, there's a free tips page there. How to choose your attorney. There's a accused questionnaire. You can fill out the form, and I'll give you a complimentary email response of what I think you should be doing in your case. A little guidance there.
That's
so
nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff over there.
I think guidance is again, first time in. I know that if I ever, God forbid, had to go through something like that again, I'd be a lot better at it now. But hindsight is 20/20, and unfortunately, I did. When it was going through, it'll rip your head apart because you care that much, and it's tough. It's very tough. It changed me as a man, I think. Somewhat, not bad, but could have done without it.
Yeah, it's not easy, and I put a lot of work into my cases. My own experience, I throw it in the ring for the accused client because I have walked in your shoes. I don't know that there's another expert out there who has the experience that I bring to the table personally. So for me, it's not just a paycheck. For me, I'm invested in the case till the end.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely experience counts because. Yeah, again, it's embarrassing. I was embarrassed standing in courtrooms. There's people in the courtroom waiting for their case, and you're airing out your dirty laundry. I don't know. I was in court so much that people thought that I was the friggin' attorney, the security people, when you're going through the thing, because I was dressed as, I was dressed to not put a bad impression, coming in with suits, and they thought I was the damn attorney because I was there so much, and it was just flat out embarrassing. I never sweat so much in my life, even as a musician. Well, I take that back. I sweat a lot as a musician, but in court, it's nerve-wracking.
That's a good point. And, a lot of litigants today, Peter, in these cases, they don't have the resources to hire an attorney or experts, and they're representing themselves pro se in propria persona, in pro per. So you have to know the rules of court, the rules of evidence, the rules of procedure, to be able to go up against a licensed attorney or multiple licensed attorneys in your case. It's a lot, and you haven't been to law school, so I don't recommend it. Is it doable? Yeah, it's doable, but you'd have to put about 15 hours a day into your case, hitting the books, getting on the internet, using AI as a tool to help you with case statutes, case citations, and authorities to be able to defeat the other side.
Yeah, you have to be a good researcher and administrative type person. The filings and all that crap, I couldn't do it. I had to hire an attorney. I didn't want to go in there unarmed when she had an attorney. But at the very end, the problem I found with having an attorney is I never got to speak. He always did the speaking for me.
Yeah.
And at the very end, I let him go because at a certain point I was running out of money. I'm going, this is ridiculous. And I come to find out that at the very end is probably where I really needed him. But I got to speak and I got to say the things that I really knew. And that really, to me, helped a lot because it was frivolous. We were just drug in frivolously, always answering the call, always leaving. And he looks at me and goes, well, how do you feel? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we're winning. I'm going, I don't feel like we're winning. We haven't finished. This is stupid. And so anyway, I pray for the people going through this stuff. And I'm sorry for the ones that have had to go through it. But I'm glad there's people like you that are willing to stick up for the innocent. And again, people wanting to get more information on Mr. Dean Tong, you go to www.abuse, excuse.com.
You got it.
We'll find you there. I want to thank you for your time. I can't remember how we connected, but I'm glad we did because I knew that this was going to be a great topic. Somebody is going to see this and be very grateful they are seeing this. And to me, win-win for them because I enjoyed talking to you about it. You're very knowledgeable, and I kind of had that feeling. The one shocker, I was going to do a spoiler alert this evening before you came on. It was shocking that I told you when you corrected me, but you are not Asian, and
no, I'm not Asian.
Mr. Dean Tong is not Asian, and he said I was about the 400th person to tell him that. I would think it's about the 4 millionth person to tell you that. But,
it's a lot, but it's fine.
No, it's that to me. I just wanted to lighten it up because I think I mean that was the whole thing is pre notion. I never got to meet you, and then when I saw you, I go, this guy's not Asian. I go, it's like little laughter in there. Never heard anybody. All right, buddy. Listen, if you want to hang out until a couple minutes, till you, if you got to go, you got to go. But just give me a couple minutes to finish up here. And then, great wrap up. One last look at Mr. Dean Tong. Wave to everybody and let them see your face one more time. There you go. I'm glad we made this technically. We all made it right there. Mr. Dean Tong, again, if you want to get a hold of him, go to www.abuse.excuse.com and check out everything he has to offer. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you in a bit.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Here we go. And here we are. abuseexcuse.com. Don't forget the hyphen in the middle right there. 1 second. All that talk made me thirsty. Oh, yeah. Okay. I told you. I knew that I hit pay dirt when we were going to have him on. He's a plethora of information. Don't forget he's got this book. And this is a how-to guide or a common sense guide right here. No doubt. Elusive Innocence Survival Guide for the Falsely Accused. I know there's people that go through their hell, and maybe this is a cheap help you keep your head together by reading some, knowledge is power. That's all I can tell you. Again, I wish I never had to go through what I went through, but it's brought me here to you. And so I guess everything happens for a reason. You have to go through the crap you got to go through to get to where you're going. But that's it. I want to thank everybody. Reminder, next week, where are we? April, last April of the month, Wednesday, April 29th. Just me and you, current events. I'm going to be talking about all the things that you need to hear that have been going on recently that either you haven't heard or you have heard or you don't want to believe, whatever it is, all the above. But we're going to have a little bit of fun, but we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. And some people might get pissed off. And once again, I don't care. You can't please everybody. I do my best. I'll constantly get the emails, this and that. Nah. I try. That's it. Don't forget, share, subscribe. Don't forget the audio podcast, all the above. And I think we're good. I hope everybody got something out of it. I know I did. I get something out of every show, but this was something I was looking forward to. So lastly, as always, be kind. Life is a bitch. You don't know what the other person's going through. We didn't talk about people seeing red. It's a harsh subject. I mean, when you get pushed to the edge and do things that you'll regret to live for. But same thing in life. Watch yourself. Don't just snap at people when they snap at you. Take a breath. Think about it real quick before you snap back. I'm learning that every day of the. Again, it was taught to me by somebody who said the same thing, and I took it to heart, and I try to abide by it. It's not easy to change because you just get so used to getting poked and jumping. So just think before you speak. You don't know what else, what somebody's going through, and that's it. Be kind, all right? You don't have to be an ass. You don't have to take a lot of crap from people either. Life is short. I want to thank everybody for watching Life with Peter G, The Peter G Show, every Wednesday like clockwork, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. I truly appreciate everyone that pays attention, but share. That's the best thing you can do for me because we are growing. It's been, especially on Facebook, this past 9-10 months, it's been exponential. It's been crazy, and I'm thankful for it, and I do not take it for granted. I know you could be doing other things, so thank you. But again, there's a reason for everything, all right? That's it. So here we go. I'll see you guys next week, God willing. Behave, be careful, enjoy your life, and make the best of it, all right? Life is, again, short. My name is Peter G. I love you, and peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single